Good afternoon. We all know the sad reason that we're here, and rather than pointing a finger of blame, our impulse in California has always been to take action. California already has strong gun laws on background checks, limiting purchasing by age, and restraining orders to prevent gun violence. Still, if there is anything more that we can do, we are compelled to do it. That is why we are here today, trying to accelerate consideration of new laws to reduce gun violence. All of the members behind me representing diverse communities, diverse parts of the state, are here united to make sure that we do so. It is also our hope that that other states will join California, and that we will act nationally to end the stranglehold that gun violence has on our country. Until then, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will be an empty promise from our Declaration of Independence. We have work to do. I know the Senate is prepared to do that work as well. Here is my colleague, President Pro Tem Tony Atkins.
Well, thank you, Speaker Rendon. I appreciate the partnership that we have doing this critical work. And like you, I want to acknowledge these incredible leaders from the Senate and from the Assembly, representing individual members who have pieces of legislation, representing our budget subcommittees that oversee public safety, representing our public safety committees. This is an incredible team of leaders. You know, and we're here because we have gotten to the point where we can't live our lives without trepidation, that every time we step outside, we may never see our families again. That's what I heard yesterday. We can't live without the fear that each goodbye to our children, our spouses, and friends could be the last. This may feel like a point of no return, but it's not. Let me pick up on the energy of the speaker when I say we cannot let it be. We have to turn it around before another neighbor, mother, teacher, or child is senselessly ripped from our worlds. Every person who has stood in the way of solutions, whose votes have put more guns on our streets and in our classrooms, needs to put their extreme and misguided ideologies aside. Children are scared to go to school. It is our responsibility as leaders in this state to leave no stone unturned, to do everything in our power to stop mass shootings in California. And I will continue to work with Speaker Rendon to move expeditiously on over a dozen bills that are already working their way through our legislative process, many of them being acted on yesterday, today, this week. And I want to thank our governor, who I'll introduce in just a minute. But I do want to mention, in addition to these prioritized bills, our budget process is establishing and working on programs to get more guns out of the hands of those who've been prohibited from owning guns by a court order. We're also working on the creation of an Office of Community Violence Prevention, which would help local communities create on-the-ground programs to prevent violence. We have to do everything in our power to get guns off our streets and away from people who should never lay a hand on them. 10 years ago, we were in an eerily similar situation, grieving the killing of 20 children and 6 educators at Sandy Hook Elementary. But here we are, mourning the murder of children again. Nothing has changed. We grieve, we mourn again. But let's be very clear. Unless we take action and political leaders take real responsibility, we will continue to grieve and mourn. Today, California leaders continue to take action, and we push, plead, and implore other states and our federal partners to bravely do the same. And now it's my pleasure to bring up our governor, who's taken an active, engaged role in this for years, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to all the remarkable leaders that are assembled here. I really don't have any comments that I can share that haven't been shared after every senseless act of violence. I have nothing that I can add that hasn't been added to the conversation, just reflecting on what happened a little over a week ago in Buffalo, or what happened in Boulder, or what happened in Aurora, or what happened in Midland, or Vegas, or Orlando, or any more words that can complement the words that were said after San Bernardino or Sandy Hook or Sutherland, or any words that can be added, the words that were said after Poway and Parkland. You know, that's just a short list of these moments that tragically we've all shared together, contemporary moments we've shared together. There's no words that I can add that would add any insight or empathy or, frankly, any deeper understanding of the world we're living in. And so we're here not to add to the rhetoric, but to advance our resolve. And that's why I'm really proud of the leaders you see in this room. And it's not surprising, because in the long line of leadership that demonstrably has been advanced out of the state of California for decades, the modern American gun rights, or rather gun control policies to restrict guns in this country and their proliferation emanates from the state of California in the late 1960s. Irony not lost on any of us, led by then Governor Ronald Reagan, for a perverse series of reasons we don't even need to discuss now. May 2nd, 1967 marked a particular moment of consciousness for many of the wrong reasons around gun safety, but led in many ways to the modern gun safety movement. Advanced over and over again through a series of tragedies, some more notable than others. Stockton, the loss of 5 young children in 1989, that led to more forceful efforts to address the issue of assault weapons, and a ban that was advanced here in the state of California. A few years later, you may recall, at 101 California, 9 folks lost their lives. That led then to efforts by our Senator Dianne Feinstein, to advance at the federal level an assault weapons ban in 1994. The series of tragedies and incidents, the state has stepped up and stepped in, not just rhetorically, not through words, but through action. And that's what we're doing again here today. We're going to control the controllables, the things that we have control of. But here's what is meaningful, and it's what the pro tem was just alluding to. California leads this national conversation. When California moves, other states move in the same direction. For all of those, for so many of us that are feeling deep anxiety and fear, I hope you look to this state for leadership, for demonstrable leadership. Leadership that's proven, by the way, results in this space. Those states like California that have the most progressive policies in restricting the abuse and proliferation of guns have consistently outperformed other states in terms of gun murder rates and gun death rates. I wasn't even going to bring him up, but Governor Abbott just name-checked the state of California. I would caution him from doing that. Particularly, and you just go to the CDC website and look at that gun murder rate in 2020. That was 67% higher than the state of California in 2020. Just reflect on the 7 laws that he celebrated last year. 25 just in the last few decades that have been rolled back. Common sense that's been rolled back just in the state of Texas alone as it relates to common sense gun laws. It's not a surprise in many respects what's going on. So we're here resolved, focused, energetically on moving well over a dozen bills forward, getting them to my desk where I will enthusiastically be signing those bills by the end of next month. Throwing out the old calendar, initiating with resolve and conviction and expedited process because of the leadership of the Speaker and the pro tem and the remarkable leaders you see behind me and their concurrence and willingness to meet this moment head on, and to advance our efforts in a series of critical areas on ghost guns, on issues related to the proliferation of assault weapons, ghost guns, as well as others, where we need to increase our enforcement, taking the cue from Texas And the SB 8 bill that put women's lives at risk, we're going to use those core tenets to save people's lives here in California as it relates to private right of action to address the proliferation of guns, particularly, again, ghost guns and assault weapons. We're moving that bill forward. It got through that Senate yesterday. And I look forward to signing that bill. This state's leaning in, we're leaning forward. And I want folks to know, if you're feeling that anxiety, stress, and fear, I hope you'll consider California as an antidote of sorts to all of the above. And I couldn't, again, be more proud of working with all these extraordinary leaders that are assembled here today. And it's not a surprise to me. We had a conversation, our staffs, late last night, and here we are just hours later this morning, and so many others that are assembled here today. We mean business. We are resolved in this fight. We're not giving up. We're not giving in to the cynicism. We're going to turn this around. We are resilient, not only as a state, as a nation. We will get through this period of time. Do not lose hope. Do not give up. And do not give in to the cynicism and all the crap that you heard today in that press conference around evil and mental health that completely belies the fact that there's only one nation on planet Earth that separates itself from all other nations, and that's the United States of America. And the perversion of a Second Amendment that begins around well-regulated gun policy. We've completely lost our senses and lost touch with that reality. And we need to change that reality, and we have that capacity to do so. And the actions that we will be advancing in the state, we hope, will be meaningful in advancing that cause. So thank you again, all of you, for taking the time to be here. And we're all here, authors of so many pieces of legislation, to answer any questions.
Governor, if I could ask you this is a state government here, but what can you say about the federal gun policies right now and any influence California has on change?
Well, I noted what we did in 1989 that led to efforts late 1993 and 1994 with the application of a state law, an assault weapons ban, that led to a national law that saved lives and reduced gun violence. You heard Senator Biden talk often about that as one of the principal co-sponsors with Senator Feinstein. And yet we let that lapse. We let that sunset. So that's just one demonstrable example of California's leadership at scale, the work we've done on red flag laws and bullet buttons on a series of issues, including the work that we're doing, did last year and will continue to do on ghost guns. California is leading, and we're advancing that cause, or causes similarly, in states large and small, and we believe it will ultimately have an impact federally.
Governor, as was noted earlier, California already has some of the toughest gun laws in the country, and yet we still have mass shootings in this state. There was one just a few blocks from the Capitol where the shooters had weapons that have been modified to turn into automatic weapons. So I'm wondering why you think that more gun laws and restrictions would be the response here. Would you consider an alternative approaches, maybe perhaps spending money to harden some of the schools? I know a lot of the public schools here are very open, have open floor plans, things like that.
I appreciate the well-worn question, talking points. It's not opinion, it's not conjecture, this is just stubborn fact. From 1993 to 2017, these are exact numbers, California's gun murder rate dropped 55%, gun death rate dropped 62%, outperforming the rest of the nation because of our gun safety laws. We don't think they work, we know they work. I'll repeat what I said earlier. Those states with the most progressive gun safety laws at scale, California being the largest, has seen disproportionate impact in terms of gun-related deaths and murders as a consequence of those policies. We know these policies work to save lives. Are they exclusively the only approach? Absolutely not. You heard the Speaker and the Pro Tem just mention efforts as it relates to a series and a suite of strategies to address the underlying causes, to address the issue of violence prevention, $200 million. A demonstrable example of investment that we made together last year in that space on our violence prevention efforts, the work we continue to do with UC. The nation is not doing this because the NRA stops and blocks it. Just by the way, as they're stopping and blocking anyone from walking in with a gun to listen to former President Trump, the irony of that shouldn't be lost on any of you. at their convention this week that this state has invested millions and millions of dollars in gun violence research at UC Davis, evidence-based. Across the spectrum, yes, we are mindful we have to do more than just advance the cause of gun safety policy. We have a lot of work to do in this space.
What is your message? Governor, speaking of Texas, essentially, I know one of those gun bills you want to see come across your desk is one that you proposed yourself that models allowing citizens to have a private right of action to uphold an assault weapons ban, ghost gun ban, and then in some cases, I know Assemblyman Phil Ting is there to sue gun makers and sellers. So, I know some Democrats during the conversations with these bills have raised questions about, how legally sound this could be, and this is tit for tat essentially, and I just want to get your response to those concerns if, that discussion continues.
Well, don't take my word for the legal frame. Take the words of the Supreme Court themselves. We modeled it after the Texas law, which was heard and which was considered by the United States Supreme Court. They're going to have a hell of a time taking this law and not applying their same principled point of view that they applied on the Texas abortion law. So I'm not concerned about that. But we mean business. We want to save lives. They use that to put women's lives at risk. We're going to use that, the door they open, that law and that process, to enforce a private right of action to get these guns off the street. Clearly, we're not doing enough to get these guns off the street. Illegal assault weapons, the sale and manufacturing of assault weapons, ghost guns. We've got more work to do. And so I couldn't be more proud of the members of the Senate that supported overwhelmingly that bill, be heading the Assembly, and now in a fast-track manner with all these other bills. I look forward to getting that to my desk in a matter of weeks.
Are you fast-tracking these bills with urgency clauses, or will they still take effect at the beginning of the year like they would have anyways without any action today if passed?
Well, I've talked to a number of the authors in hope and expectation that we add an urgency clause to many of these, but that process is unfolding in real time. And working with legislative leaders, we'll make that determination to the extent that I'll have any influence over that. It may be on the back end, but certainly on the front end, I'm hopeful that a number of these bills can reach our desk with the urgency provisions attached so they can go into effect immediately. Some may be more traditional process.
Governor, we know that to overcome something like this, it is going to take bipartisan support. Can you speak to how California is going to come together and make changes and lead the way in terms of bipartisan support?
Well, we have in the past. I mentioned then Republican Governor Ronald Reagan, who signed a critical bill as it relates to concealed carry here in the state of California, Republican, former governor, Republican, former president. These are universally supported efforts, bipartisan in that support. You can't get to 90% America on comprehensive background checks unless it's universal in support. By definition, Republicans, Democrats, and Independents overwhelmingly in support. The problem is you've got all these politicians that are bought and paid for by certain interest groups, many that will be celebrated and revered this weekend in a 14-acre exhibition of guns and gear in Texas. And until they have the courage to truly represent their constituency and the people of the United States of America, we'll continue to have these moments. We're going to do our part to mitigate these moments by leaning in and providing a different pathway and a different approach. And we believe, we've long said it, success leaves clues. Successful implementation and application of these rules and regulations, we believe, will put more pressure on like-minded states and those that may be on the fence to consider our approach as a much more appropriate response to what's going on in this country.
In the absence of any announcement today about new gun legislation, I wanted to ask, since all of the Democratic leaders are here, where are you at on negotiations on your inflation relief, gas relief package for voters that you've...
Yeah, they may have a comment. We're here to focus our attention with intensity on the task at hand and the
Right,
urgency
so
of
in the
matter.
absence of any actual announcement, can you speak to what's going on with the negotiations there on that package?
I won't, and can't speak for the two legislative leaders.
I think I would ask that we hold that question. We are available, we're here all week.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the moment, if we could.
Here.
California does have a supermajority of Democrats, and on the national level, it's a slim majority. And to continue the conversation of working across the aisle, what do you think Democrats in Congress and in the White House need to be doing in order to work with the Republicans?
If you don't like the way all the world looks when you're standing up, stand on your head and go local. Remarkable things are still happening at the local level, city, counties, states, and in the absence of federal leadership, that's where the energy will be, and that's where this movement needs to continue to advance. As I said, we're going to control the controllables. The nation's largest state, the fifth largest economy in the world, a state that's led the national debate on common sense gun safety reform. We're going to continue to advance that reform, and we're taking it to a whole nother level with a sense of urgency that this moment requires. And we'll continue to do our part, punch above our weight, try to work with governors, all political stripes in other states, and mayors in other states that understand this, particularly mayors that are on the front lines, and continue to advance common sense gun safety until we break through with the United States Senate. And until that moment, we're not going to give up or give in to that cynicism. We're not going to roll over and accept the status quo. That's the best we can do under the current circumstances.
You said that you are going to work with governors of other states. Have you had a conversation with the president about this in terms of working with other lawmakers in other states?
Well, previous presidents, I've had the privilege. I haven't had that opportunity directly with President Biden, but there's no question of his leadership. It's demonstrable over the course of his entire career in this space, not least of which on the assault weapons ban itself. The idea that you can go into a store without, even a momentary delay, a pause, and purchase these weapons of war, 30-round clips. I mean, that doesn't happen in California. Won't happen in California. The only thing that can stop that, by the way, are these extremist judges, which is an issue. And you can ask Judge Benitez about how he's feeling about this last 10 days. Ask Judge Nelson how he's feeling. Specifically, Judge Nelson. To Judge Nelson, who in his 2-to-1 majority opinion wrote about the heroism of these young men in the 1700s and reflected in his decision to overturn our ban on long guns being sold in semi-automatics from 21-year-olds to 18-year-olds, said, well, that's just the price you pay because some people will act out. Wonder how he's feeling right now. What happened in Buffalo and what happened in Texas. Ripped from the pages of the Federalist Society, one of the 331 federal appellate court judges that Donald Trump gave this country. I wonder how Judge Nelson's feeling. I wonder how proud he is of that opinion he wrote. Judge Benitez, who said about our assault weapons ban, assault weapons nothing more than Swiss Army knives. These are extremists. That's the world we're living in right now. Wake up, folks. Read these opinions. Pay attention to what's going on. Look at the damage that's been done in Texas and the gun safety laws in the last few years. Look at the rhetoric you heard today about evil and mental health, as if evil doesn't exist and persist around the globe. Mental health is not an issue in every part of the globe. What's unique in the United States is this savagery because of the availability, ease, and access of weapons of war. Weapons of war, the manufacturer, the person who designed the AR-15, his family said he'd be humiliated by what has happened. It was never designed, never intended to be used, civilian use. It's shameful. You've got folks out there manufacturing and marketing an AR-15 for babies, and their logo is a pacifier with the baby AR-15. Those are the folks that would be down there in Texas this weekend at the NRA convention. These are extremists. They need to be called out. In the absence of that, this state will lead.
Governor, you spoke highly of President Biden's career on gun control, but how do you assess his record since he's been in the Oval Office in handling gun violence?
I think he's doing what he can under the circumstances. I'm just blessed to have these remarkable leaders. It's a three-legged stool. I mentioned the judicial branch. That's a wobbly leg right now. But we are firm in our resolve, the executive and legislative branch, of standing tall together, demonstrably here today, but every day in this space. And I pray for the wisdom. I pray as I pray to forgive those who cannot disabuse themselves of the influence of the National Rifle Association. I pray for the resolve of the American people to turn out in record ways and vote those who support real public safety and are pro-life in terms of the life of our children that every single day are in peril of another episode like that we experienced 24 hours ago.
Governor, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a philosophical question to end it. The Texas law that we're modeling our gun law after, in Texas, that law will go after vulnerable women, poor women, women who in general are not known for violence. Our matching law here in California would, by definition, have citizens going after people who are armed and dangerous. Do you think that is what we have come to in California and in America, that this is a one-on-one battle in which we, the people, need to go after the bad guys one at a time?
We need to get dangerous guns and weapons of war off the streets. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're focused on. We have too many guns. We have a gun culture. We've come to accept this, normalize this, and providing that right of private action for people to get these dangerous guns, these weapons of war, have led to so much carnage and death, not just these mass shootings, but shootings every single day that do not capture our attention as they should, I think is principled and appropriate under the extraordinary circumstances that we are living through in this state and in this nation. With that, again, gratitude to all of the remarkable leaders assembled here today, and in particular, the Speaker and the Pro Tem, who I couldn't be more proud of today, and more proud of all of the legislative leaders that we look forward to working together to advance this cause and get these bills on our desk by the end of next month. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Governor.